For the first time, Ukraine is officially celebrating Christmas together with Western countries. Most of its Orthodox believers traditionally marked it in January, according to the Julian calendar, also used in Russia. President Volodymir Zelenskyy has published a video message to the Ukrainian people. He asked the soldiers fighting Russians on the front lines to remain steadfast in their mission. With conscription plans behind schedule, those soldiers often don't know when they'll see their families next time or how many more years they'll be at war. DW's Nick Connolly has been to the Donetsk region in eastern Ukraine to meet musicians in uniform trying to keep spirits up.
This is about as big as concerts can get. Here in eastern Ukraine, within earshot of the front lines. Any bigger, and the crowd of soldiers could easily attract a Russian strike. On the bill tonight, an eclectic group of musicians playing guitar, folk instruments, as well as classical violin, all of them in uniform. Among them tonight is a 90s pop star.
Don't underestimate what music can do. Have a sing when you're out there. Don't worry about looking silly. The music's going to make you feel much better. When you're at war, where else can you let it all out?
An hour or two of distraction for soldiers who have no idea how many years they'll be asked to fight. That at least is the idea behind these concerts. They ask Miroslav about his call sign, Jonich, or son of John in Ukrainian. It sparks conversation about growing up in Ukraine as the son of a Nigerian father and a Russian mother. These men have just spent the best part of 2 weeks facing off against Russian troops at as close quarters as it gets. Theirs is an infantry regiment. Now they're getting some much-needed downtime to sleep, recover, and listen to some instruments they might not have come across before this war.
These guys aren't going to open up to a psychologist, especially someone who hasn't been through what they have. Soldiers are a tough audience. They're demanding. They're closed off emotionally. Trying to create a connection with them is really tough. But if they do open to you, then it's for real.
Civilian musicians, Miroslav tells us, often have a hard time with these audiences, especially the men. Give me your guitar, and I'll give you my gun, they're told. The military draft and making sure it's fair has become a hot-button issue here in Ukraine. Queues of volunteers outside recruitment offices are a thing of the past, now replaced by raids on gyms and restaurants to track down recruits.
Sometimes these soldiers get tired and frustrated, but for the most part they're focused on doing the job. I think most people here have realized that they need to pace themselves. We've got a marathon ahead of us, not a sprint.
One thing these soldiers do know for certain is that they'll be spending this Christmas away from their families, most likely in the field.
And for more on the situation in Ukraine and those soldiers, we can now talk to DW correspondent Matthias Berlinger in Kyiv. Matthias, we're coming up on 2 years of fighting for Ukraine's troops who stopped the takeover of their country many thought was unstoppable at first. But what is morale like now?
It's a little bit of a mixed picture. Of course, people are tired here. Polls show that everybody, almost everybody in Ukraine, either has friends or relatives who have been killed in this war, soldiers who have been killed. So people are really experiencing this very closely, and they are tired. Many ask, like, how long is this going to go? On the other hand, the vast majority here does not think there is an alternative to continuing fighting. There is no peace achievable, no peace that would guarantee a long time peace. At the moment, there is no offer suffer from Russia, really, and most people here are not ready to leave these territories behind to make a deal. So there's only one alternative, and that is to continue. And in that way, morale is high. People are convinced that they need to continue fighting.
And in terms of keeping up that morale, I think we can all remember, and many of our viewers as well, at the beginning of the conflict, people around the world were calling President Volodymir Zelenskyy, this unlikely comedian come president, a Ukrainian Churchill, an incredible leader in the first months of the war. Is he still a popular leader now?
I think his ratings are more down to human levels. Like in the beginning of the war, he had the support of fantastic, like 90% of the people were in his favor, and he really won the support of the people by how he acted, especially in the first days of the war. He stayed in Kiev, he addressed the people directly, stark contrast to Putin, who was in these big rooms at a very big distance of everybody. But of course, people do ask questions about this or that decision, and his ratings are lower now. There's something in the 60%. That's still a majority of people. He still has the support of people, but people also do not go with everything he does, and his support is much lower than that of the military leadership, which still enjoy some 80-something% of support. So overall, people have a more or less stable trust in the leadership of the country at war, but not everybody supports them at the same level, and there are questions to many of the decisions that this leadership has made.
Okay, DW's Matthias Böllinger in Kyiv. Thank you so much for that insight.